Oh, hello and welcome to What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. I am him, and we are here to make you guys some money. And that is exactly what we intend to do this evening. I'm sitting next to two brilliant football gambling experts. We are going to preview every single game from Week 16, and we are going to recommend some tasty gambling pieces of advice. Please subscribe to the channel so you are notified whenever we put these out, because we record these on Tuesday, and oftentimes those lines change by the time that everything comes to your eyeballs, so you want to get these videos pretty quickly. Last week recap, we just have to shout out to our podcast's MVP, most valuable player, Baker Mayfield, with a career game this past week. The podcast, we've been all over this guy, taking the Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield. I've said it a million times on this podcast. If you give me Baker Mayfield a couple points, give me Baker Mayfield a little bit of plus money, I'm going to take my $2 and put it on Baker Mayfield. And that's what we all did last week. The past week, I think every single person on the panel has recommended Baker Mayfield against the spread, or Baker Mayfield Buccaneers money line. The Baconeers is what we like to call them on the podcast. So just a little update on what Baker Mayfield's up to. Against the Packers in Lambeau, he threw for 381 yards and 4 touchdowns, which added to his total for the season of 3,315 yards, 28 touchdowns with only 8 interceptions, which is by far his best ratio in his career. As a guy who watched him play a lot for the Cleveland Browns, especially that shoulder injury season, it just seemed like every pass that was tipped up by a receiver, a lot of interceptions were not on him. So good to see that that's kind of evening it out for him this season. I'm really happy for the guy. Feels like he might be the future quarterback there for the Buccaneers, or a starting quarterback somewhere else next season. And thank you, Baker Mayfield, for being a part of this podcast. And we'll keep betting on you, or stay tuned. We'll see if we're betting on him this week. But first, we are going to Thursday night football, and I'm going to pull up our gambling lines here. Thursday night football, we got the Saints and the LA Rams. The Saints are currently 7-7 in the 9 seed in the NFC. If you watched last week, I recommended Rams at plus 190 to make the playoffs, because we had a favorable schedule going forward, and the injuries at the QB position in the rest of the NFC, all those other teams in the hunt or in the bubble have a lot of injuries at quarterback. They're currently sitting at minus 130. The Saints' odds to make the playoffs are now plus 125. The Saints are coming off of the easiest 2-game win streak in the NFL this season against the Panthers and the Giants, with a combined score of 52-12 between those two games. The Rams are 4-point favorites here at home, with an over-under of 45.5. I am going to take the Rams at -4 for my first recommendation of the evening. I think the Rams just have what it takes with Matt Stafford healthy, and I think the Saints are going to be feeling a little bit fat and happy, even though they will be highly motivated to win this game, coming off of a solid win last week. Miles, thank you for being on the show at Mr. Most Days Off on all social media platforms. We got a show coming up this Thursday at Club 1842.
51, close enough.
51.
If you show up at 1842, we'll just come perform there too.
We're performing at a Christmas show. I'm Yukon Cornelius, hence why I'm growing out the beard, which I usually do this time of year anyway. Miles, tell them about what you're going to be.
I'm going to be Scrooge, which is why I'm going to be a complete and total asshole tonight. I'm just getting into character, ready to go. All of you suck. Bah humbug. I'm here to lose you money.
Hell yeah. Method actor, Miles Francis. What are your thoughts on the New Orleans Saints and the Rams game?
I'm 100% with you on this one. You mentioned the key that I think is going to make this a pretty easy Rams victory to cover that 4-point spread, and that is Matt Stafford, dude. He is a different Matt Stafford in the last few weeks than he has been at the beginning of the season. He feels like he's found something again. He still has some incredible receivers, some targets that he can aim for, and then a decent running back backing him up back there. And it just feels like the Saints have a solid defense and not a lot else going on right now.
Yeah, it feels like they're kind of grasping here at the end of the season. A cute story to try and make the playoffs here, but doesn't feel like it's in the cards for them. Mr. Andrew, what are your thoughts on the game, buddy?
This is my first lock of the week. I am going with the Rams. The resurgence of Matt Stafford starts with one person and one person only, Kyren Williams. Since he has come back from IR, he has been smoking hot, averaging almost 150-plus yards from scrimmage since he's been back, at least one touchdown, almost one touchdown. This guy is
half a touchdown for sure.
He's carrying the Rams to the playoffs, and if you are lucky enough to have him still on your fantasy team, you ought to be taking you to the championship.
Okay, so that is a lock of the week. We are all on the Rams at home against the Saints. Moving on to our next game here, covering the Cincinnati Bengals as they go into Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. Saturday, Week 16 football kicks off with the Bengals taking on the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Bengals are currently the 6th seed in the AFC and currently in the playoffs, of course. Top 7 teams in each conference make the playoffs. The Steelers are not in the playoffs. MVP Mitch, Nickelodeon's most valuable player, Mitch Trubisky, has not lived up to his MVP status with 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions and a passer rating of 71.9, which is actually, I was surprised to find out, is the lowest passer rating for a season in his career. And he's not had very many, fantastic seasons in the NFL. He's had a lot of bad seasons in the NFL. Backup QB on the other side of things, Jake Browning, after the game, looked into a camera in the sidelines, threw his helmet and said, "You should have never fucking cut me," in reference to the Vikings cutting him and playing with him on the practice squad for a little while until he found his way to Cincinnati. But to his credit, Browning has a completion percentage of 73.6 this season and is averaging 8.7 yards an attempt. This is a weird line to me. When I was researching it earlier today, it was actually at 1.5. It has moved to 2 in the direction of the Bengals, and that's not a big enough correction for me. The Steelers, are worthless with, both quarterbacks. I think Mitch Trubisky is going to be starting this week again, if I had to guess. And either, other opportunities I don't think are very much better. Jake Browning is for real. Like, you don't throw for 8.7 yards an attempt and 73% in the NFL just on accident through this sort of sample size. So for that reason, I am going to take the Bengals at -1.5. This spread, I think, is calculating in a little bit too much of the Pittsburgh Steelers' home field advantage. They typically do have a pretty decent home field advantage. There are several tickets I found on Ticketmaster and on whatever other StubHub and other ticket platforms that have tickets in the lower bowl, the 100 section, for less than $110 in Pittsburgh Steelers.
Call me when they get to 45 cents.
Yeah. But that's so that's less than the average from last year. A lower bowl ticket. Steelers is like a top 8 ticket price on average every single year. So that's actually very, very low for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But yeah, we'll get to the Carolina Panthers here in a little bit, Miles. Don't you worry. So for all those reasons, I don't like it obviously nearly as much at -2 as -1.5 when I saw it earlier today. But I'm still going to recommend it, -2. Hopefully you can find a -1.5 because we're going to upload this episode very, very quickly. Hopefully you can get a piece of it pretty quick. Miles, what is your thoughts on the Bengals and the Steelers?
Last week, I was way more down on Jake Browning than you guys were. I said that I needed to see more before I was going to be convinced. That stare down was pretty convincing. I like that sort of attitude in a player. So I'm with you. I think that Pittsburgh, the only thing they got going for them this week is the home field advantage. And as terrible as those towels might be, it's not going to overcome an even more terrible quarterback. So Cincinnati covering 2 points. As long as MVP Mitch Days is the starting quarterback, I think the 2 points will be an easy cover.
Yep, and we're agreeing on just about everything so far. Andrew, are we agreeing on this one too?
We are. I am all in the Bengals
Creepers.
on this game. Mason Rudolph is actually starting this game.
Is he?
Yeah, he is. It's not going to make It's not going to make a difference, except he won't, throw across his body. He'll just take a sack fumble. I'm just saying, the Bengals will crush. Now, Jamar Chase, I don't think is playing this game, which is going to affect the over/under, in my opinion. I probably would lean towards the under. I'm thinking like 21-10 maybe, but I really like the Bengals this week for sure.
Okay, so we're all in accord. We do record Tuesday night, so we try not to speculate on injuries too much, but Andrew's feeling pretty strong that Jamar Chase is going to be a no-go for this one, so that's good to know. Moving on to the Buffalo Bills taking on the LA Chargers. The Bills just handed out an ass whooping. They beat the piss out of the Cowboys at home in Buffalo. On their opening drive, they had a play where James Cook took a handoff and ran up the middle and in a pile was pushed forward, just wheeled forward for an extra 10 yards. And the whole game was the same way for the Bills and the Cowboys. The Cowboys really got absolutely bullied in that game. We do have a fun little clip. We were live streaming that. If you want to check that out on our channel, it's definitely worth your 17 seconds of time or whatever it is. It's a good little laugh, good little trip down memory lane for how this game started. The 8-6 Bills are still in the outside looking in. They're the 9 seed in the AFC. The Bills have the Chargers, Patriots, and Dolphins left on their schedule. Assuming the Dolphins play their starters in that last game, either way, all 3 of these games are going to be massive for them to make it into the playoffs. Win these next 2, and you got to be feeling pretty good going into the Dolphins, which I think give them a big motivational bump. Of course, trying to make it into the playoffs for this game, a lot of sense of urgency. Chargers, on the other hand, are coming off of an ass whooping to the Raiders, 63-21, with 4 lost fumbles and an interception being the major difference in the game. Otherwise, Easton Stick was actually pretty damn good outside of that 1 interception. He was 23 of 32 for 257 yards and 3 touchdowns. Bills are 10.5-point favorites at LA, which will essentially be a Bills home game with the over-under at 44. The real story, though, is the Chargers firing their head coach the next morning after an embarrassing loss. A lot of people were calling for his job at half of that game. I think the Chargers really hated their head coach, Staley, and for that reason, I'm going to just have to take the Chargers plus 10.5 here. Keenan Allen did not practice again today and is trending to not play. Basically reading tea leaves here. But I cannot avoid betting on a fired coach game, especially when I truly believe that they did not like each other in LA. So for that reason, I'm taking Chargers plus 10.5. Miles, what do you think?
I really like the Chargers in this one as well to cover that spread, but that's going to be a little bit dependent. I think watch that line if Keenan Allen does come back, because I would expect that number to change. But him trending towards not playing, I do feel like 11.5, as we talked about, is just a lot of points for an NFL team to cover at this time of the season. And I just don't know that the Bills have been playing consistently enough for me to take any bet other than Chargers keeping this within 11.5 points.
Yeah, so I was saying 10.5. That's based off of my research. So this point spread actually moved in my direction, and I think that is probably a reaction to the did not practice report from Keenan Allen. It's right. That whole point. But hey, I fired coach game. Give it to me every single time because it always works. Andrew, what do you think?
I'm going to stay away from this game. I understand the fired coach theory. It works most of the time, except we're at this point in the season where there's nothing left to play for. Keenan Allen is not going to play the rest of the season. He's packed it in for the year. I look at Eckler. He's wondering where he's going to live next year. And I see it's got Easton Stick, and I'm like, you know what? He's not built for this life. But also the Bills are so inconsistent. I can't justify telling anyone to put their money on them because 11.5 is too crazy of a number especially have a cross-country travel, back-to-back huge wins. Like, you have to think they're probably going to slip a little. So I just want to stay away from this game.
Okay, that's fair enough. We can't all be on the same 3 games back to back to back. The Detroit Lions are going into Minnesota to play the Vikings. This is a 3 seed versus a 6 seed matchup in the NFC. Despite what you might think about the Vikings, they are still currently well within the playoff picture. The Lions had a big bounce back game last week against a red hot Broncos team. Jared Goff threw for 5 touchdowns. Goff, his Super Bowl season with the Rams, the season he went to the Super Bowl, didn't win it, but won a championship. He had a similar late season dip. I actually looked into it game by game and recovery. He threw 0 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in week 14 and 15, and then came back to throw 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in week 16 and 17, eventually leading his team to a championship and losing in the Super Bowl. The Vikings are coming off of a tough overtime loss to Jake Browning and the Bengals, where they scored 24 points, which is tied for their 4th highest team total this season. The Lions might get CJ back off of injury this week to help that secondary, which is much needed for this Lions team. And who knows, maybe Justin Houston, who was just released by the Carolina Panthers, pass rusher, would be a great option to be signed for this Lions team. Just saying, they need another pass rusher bad. I need to take the Lions here, and I'm going to take them at -3.5, which is because Minnesota can't keep up with good Jared Goff. And that's what I think we're going to get for this game is good Jared Goff. I also, I believe I have a James recommendation. Couldn't make the taping today. He is also on the Lions at -3.5. Miles, where are you?
I also like the Lions -2.5. I hate that I keep agreeing with you, but I actually like the over 47 on this way more than I do the Lions winning. I think the Lions will win this game, but I think this is going to be a game with a lot of points scored. My only fear is that Jared Goff has been a very different player on the road than he has been at home this year. It seems like he is consistently playing well when they're playing in Detroit, and he has struggled a lot more. But I want to feel, and maybe I'm just a sucker every time, it feels like this is going to be his time to turn it around, doesn't it? Like, this feels like they're about to go onto a run. You've got 2 beasts of running backs in the backfield. You still got weapons to throw to. He's been playing
Healthy
really well.
O-line.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to like the Lions here. But the Lions' defense has not been their strong point the entire year, and Minnesota has some deep threats that can get in the end zone. So I really like the over 47. Maybe tie them together, the Lions to win and take the over.
Okay, I love that, Miles. Andrew, what say you, buddy?
I'm all over the over this week. All over it. I
47.
can't help but think that the Minnesota might put up 4 touchdowns, a lot of garbage time potential. I mean, the Lions are going to get theirs. Montgomery, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Sam Laporta. I mean, you were looking at probably the most exciting game of the week of the slate on Sunday, the early games. So I'm like all over the over.
Okay, I love it, Andrew. Both of you guys are on the over. I'm on the Lions at -3.5. Moving on to the Packers and the Carolina Panthers. The Packers lost their last 2 games to Tommy DeVito and our podcast MVP Baker Mayfield. The Panthers have been eliminated from the playoff contention, and the Packers' hopes aren't looking very good at the moment. The Packers are 3rd worst in the NFL versus the run, and the Panthers are in the middle of the pack offensively on the ground. It feels like we're seeing the breakout year and the sophomore slump for Jordan Love all in the same season. So for that reason, I think I'm just going to lean on the Panthers at +5 at home to keep it close. But I can't recommend it because maybe we just, maybe we see the 3rd season from Jordan Love and the Packers. Who knows? So I'm just going to lay off of this one. And I've got a lot more recommendations coming today. Miles, what do you think?
So where I took the over on the last game, I don't think either of these teams are capable of scoring a lot of points. So I am actually going to take the under on this game. I do not think that they're going to get all the way to 36.5 collectively. Jordan Love's really the only one that scares me there. The Carolina Panthers, we referenced earlier, they're selling tickets for 45 cents right now, and they still can't even get the upper bowl filled. Like, they can't even fill in the seats. We were watching this weekend, and it was embarrassing how much blue you could just see the seat colors themselves. It literally could have been mistaken for an empty stadium or some sort of like weird side event not related to the NFL. The Panthers are just a very bad team. I don't know what else to say about them. The Green Bay Packers seem to be a very inconsistent team. So again, I think the 36.5 points is too much for these two quarterbacks.
Yeah, almost makes you want to like go see a Carolina game just so we can get like 50-yard line tickets for, I don't know, $14. Like, that sounds great.
It's like the same like when influencers rent a private jet that doesn't actually take off just so they can get pictures. We can go get like the most like insane seats at the stadium and then like, just use AI to fill it in and make it look like it mattered.
Well, you just do the thing where you put your back and you zoom in really close.
Yeah. Make it.
Like
There's really only like two people. It's like what we do when we shoot for our comedy shows that are empty. Yeah. You put the camera behind the one couple that's sitting near the stage, so it looks like there's an audience.
Packed room. I'm bombing actually, even though you're hearing just two people laugh the whole time because it's packed in here. Andrew, what do you think?
I don't know if both of these teams will score 17 points combined. Wow. If I'm taking the under first half, I'm taking under for the game. If there's an under in the quarter, I'm taking that too. I would take the bet 0 touchdowns scored this game. I really feel like this game could be 12-6.
Yeah. The Panthers can sort of run the ball, and that's how you take advantage of the Packers defense. But all that's going to do is
Panthers also have a really tough secondary, and Jordan Love beat up wide receiving core. It's all over the under.
13 field goals is a lot, dude.
I think your math is I think your math's a little bit off, Miles.
13 put it 13 times 3, put it to 39.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Over. I get it. Okay. My mistake. I'm an idiot.
I may be high, but
moving on.
But
you guys aren't. You guys are both on the under in this game. A low over under, but hey, it's low for a reason. Moving on to the Cleveland Browns. Speaking of like surprisingly high over-unders, in my opinion, are going into Houston to play the Texans. Flacco and the Browns just beat the Bears with, a little bit of luck in the Hail Mary drop from Darnell Mooney and another heroic performance from Joe Flacco. Case Keenum and the Texans just beat Will Levis and the Titans in overtime. CJ Stroud is having concussion symptoms still as of yesterday, remains in the protocol. I'll speculate that he won't be playing, which could mean a revenge game, Case Keenum versus the Browns defense, of course. But without Tank Dell, who is still obviously out for the season for the Texans, they haven't looked the same. They are the 9th worst in total sacks as a defense in the NFL. And that's my big concern with the Browns is their banged up offensive line, which despite their injuries looked sort of serviceable against, in my opinion, a better pass rush from the Chicago Bears last week. I'm going to recommend the Browns -2 here, another line that has moved since I researched it like an hour ago. Lines are moving right now. We got to eat them up as soon as we can. And I'm also going to recommend the under 41 points. I think the Browns, the way they win this game is they just hold whoever's quarterback and the Houston Texans to like 6 points, and they put enough points up on the board to cover the spread. And that is about it. James also recommended Browns money line. Now, like I said, this line has moved a little bit since we have talked earlier today. It was like Browns -1. It's all the way to Browns -2 now. So James, when he recommended that, he was getting Browns at about even money, plus 110 or so. So that is why he recommended that. We like it obviously a little bit less where the number is right now, but I'm still happy to recommend it. Miles, what are you thinking?
I'm with you on the Browns. Again, a lot of agreement on where we think the winners of this are going to go. But once again, this is another game that I really like the under. If CJ Stroud does not play, I don't think these two teams are going to collectively get 3 touchdowns apiece. Like that just isn't going to happen. So I would say another game. Like maybe I'm too aggressive on the underscoring this week, but man, it seems like these are set a little higher than they should be.
Yeah, that number jumped out at me. I just like the Browns situationally. That's why I like their side as well. But yeah, to your credit as well, that also leaves into account the scenario where Joe Flacco just lays his first egg as a Cleveland Brown and just scores like 4 points in the whole game. And then you're still hitting that under. So I kind of like that side of things for you as well, Miles. I'm just too big of a believer in the Cleveland Browns defense to not bet on them in a couple of fashions at the same time. Andrew, what do you think?
Many ways your mental illness shows through, for sure.
Yes, for sure. Well said, Mr. Miles. Andrew, what do you think?
Well, shortly after we started recording, I did get an alert that said CJ Stroud is missing the game this week.
Okay.
By the time our viewers get a chance to see this, please hop on the Browns and hop on the under. Joe Flacco, he may shit the bed, but they're going to out-kick field goals the Texans. So I'm taking the Browns this week. I love the Browns. Actually, also on fantasy football, I'm starting Amari Cooper and Njoku.
Yeah.
I'm going all in on those dudes too.
Hell yeah. I'm also starting them. Not the Burning Man, David Njoku. I'm also starting them. I also almost lit my face on fire today. Shout out to David Njoku for because I actually had the grill on a little bit too hot and I started it and my face was really, really far away. And I was thinking of David Njoku at the time. So he's the reason I currently have eyebrows. So shout out to him. Moving on to the Indianapolis Colts and the Atlanta Falcons. The Colts are currently minus 150 to make the playoffs. That's like the best odds you can find on them right now, which I thought was pretty surprising because they are the 7th seed with an 8-6 record. The Falcons are not mathematically eliminated yet with a 6-8 record, but they did just get embarrassed by the Panthers in an empty stadium in a game whose final score was 9-7.
Yeah.
Statistically, the Falcons are slightly better defensively, while the Colts are slightly better offensively. With this line about even, I would argue that you could kind of lean towards the home team for that reason. The game is in Atlanta, so that's kind of where I would lean in that direction. But I think we got to use the same attitude that we were using with Baker Mayfield and with Gardner Minshew here, because they just keep winning. The Colts, they just keep on winning, and that's why I think the books believe in them to make the playoffs. With Gardner Minshew, they are 8-6. I think the Falcons are kind of dead in a way, so I'm going to take the Colts here at +1 point. And I'll probably take the money line actually at -105 as we're looking at it currently. Miles, what do you think?
Damn it, I'm also on Colts money line all day.
Crap.
But one big thing that you neglected to mention, Michael Pittman Jr. might be dead. I haven't actually gotten verification that he's still breathing. I assume after that hit I saw in slow motion, there's no way you survive that. Again, not a chiropractor, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. If Michael Pittman does not play, I'm jumping all over this under. I'm 44.5, dude. The Atlanta Falcons scored 7 points last week against an absolutely worse team. I know they're going to be playing at home. I know that they're probably going to be a little butthurt and want to show out a little bit, but I don't think they're capable of doing it. So again, I like the Colts to win this one. If Pittman is not in this game, and you have to assume he's not going to be, I would think that hit was just nasty.
It was.
He does get an extra day to recover in concussion protocol, which is in his favor because they played on Saturday this week instead of Sunday. So that's one positive thing going his way. But there's only been a handful of guys who've made it back within a week coming off of a concussion protocol. And that hit was just so gnarly. I'll be shocked. So again, be watching for Pittman if he's not playing, or if you're feeling like he's not going to play. Another game that I think is going to be a low scoring affair.
Yeah, so in my opinion, that hit looked it was bad. Like, it was bad, don't get me wrong. But head trauma wise, I would be a little bit more concerned with the ligaments in his neck, like sprain sort of issues, because he really, really hyperextended himself. But it was kind of like more straight on, which typically you won't see concussions with as frequently or as severely. And to my remembrance, I don't remember him like slamming his head off the turf, which is like what we saw with CJ Stroud, which is holding him out for potentially several weeks.
There was helmet to helmet contact, if I remember correctly, but
there was.
Regardless, that spot, that bend, you're absolutely right. It reminded me of if you remember in the movie Men in Black, at one point he folds somebody in half and like puts them on a shelf. And that was Michael Pittman Jr. this weekend.
Yeah, it was definitely brutal. But I'm saying there's a chance,
Lloyd Christmas, baby.
In my opinion. Hell yeah. Andrew, what do you think?
I mean, there's always a chance your neck just takes 98% of the punishment instead of your head. So yeah, Come on. No, this week I'm so out on the Falcons. This has the look of a team that really is done. They're over the season. They're over their stupid ass fucking head coach who can't get the ball to his best players. And run stupid plays for the corpse of Cordell Patterson. As much as I want to go with the Colts this weekend, I'm also nervous about Michael Pittman. We still don't know the status of Jonathan Taylor. Zach Moss has a jacked up arm. So I like the under this week. Let's just stick with that. It feels safer.
Yeah, I do like how you guys are getting at like the same thing that I'm getting at as well. But yeah, I just believe in Gardner Minshew too much. I think he's just a guy that's going to win those close games. It's just like the same thing with Baker Mayfield. Like, I want the ball in his hands while we're having a close game here. So that's why I'm on the Colts and not as much on the under, because Gardner can put up some points. Let's be honest. Moving on to Seattle and the Tennessee Titans. The game will be in Tennessee. The Seahawks just won in spectacular fashion, right? We just saw it with Drew Lock, and potentially exposed the Philadelphia Eagles for being frauds Monday night. They are going to be traveling to Tennessee to play the Titans. The Titans are mathematically eliminated from playoff contention as of this week, and the Seahawks are on the bubble with the 8 seed, currently 7-7. The Titans have been playing very, very close games lately. The combined score differential for the last 3 games is totaled up to 7 points. 3, 1, and 3 in the last 3 games were decided by that many points. The Seahawks are 2.5 point favorites on the road. Geno Smith may be back. We might see Drew Lock, who's, coming off of a pretty emotional win. So for that reason, give me a lean towards the Seahawks. I don't know who's quarterback as of right now. I am betting a lot of games this week, and I had to take a few off of my list. This was a pick for me earlier on. I'm just like, I don't know what kind of effort we're truly going to get out of the Titans. So for that reason, I'm just a little bit too nervous to entirely bet it. Miles, what are you taking?
This is my first no-brainer of the week. I might have drank Seattle's Kool-Aid a little too hard. Maybe I'm still too up high on the Eagles. I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to come off of this victory over the Eagles. They're going to have a little bit more swagger, and you already said it. Tennessee's eliminated at this point. At best, they're playing for wins. There's really not a lot of heart. You can kind of see that this team is defeated. You can look at DeAndre Hopkins on the sideline when things are going well, and just see that there's a look in his face of like, oh man, remember like when we used to score a lot and this was fun? I have to imagine he's just kind of contemplating. He's like, do I have enough money yet that I could just go do something else now? I think I probably have enough money to go do something else now. I don't know, but Seahawks all the way. They're going to get that 3-point margin, at least a field goal. I know they've been playing close games, but regardless if it's Locke, regardless if it's Smith, no brainer, Seattle Seahawks.
Okay, so that's a Seahawks no-brainer. The first one of the night for Miles. Andrew, what do you think?
I love the Seahawks this week. We didn't
Wow.
bring up Will Levis has some type of ankle sprain.
Yep.
I don't think he's going to play. And I'm not sure if they're going to go back to Tannehill or they're going to push Malik Willis out there. And either or, I kind of feel like this Titans team this is the end of a chapter for a lot of veterans like Derrick Henry, probably DeAndre Hopkins. These guys are ready to go on their vacation. They're ready to get out of town. So give me the Seahawks. Give me the momentum with either Drew Lock, Geno Smith. It doesn't matter. I like Kenneth Walker. I like DK Metcalf. And I like Tyler Lockett to really carry this team.
I do like all of those guys as well. But it's just I have too many too many bets recommended for this slate. So I got to be a little bit disciplined and just take my very, very favorite ones. So that's the only thing keeping me off of it with you guys. Because like I said, that's where my head was in the first place. Moving on to the Commanders and the Jets. This is the official toilet bowl of Week 16. The Jets and the Commanders are both mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers is not coming back for this season. I don't think Ron Rivera will be coming back next season. I think these defenses have a lot of pride. And despite their kind of lame duck head coaches, despite Aaron Rodgers verbally supporting Robert Saleh on the Pat McAfee show today, so I'll lean to the under 37.5 just for this game to live up to how terrible we're all expecting it to be. The Jets are 3-point favorites at home. Just a lean for me, Miles. Where are you at?
I'm shocked that you can give the Jets a point favor at any point just because they don't have an offense that is capable of scoring. So literally this betting line is assuming that they are going to get defensive touchdowns enough to cover this spread. I would not want to touch this game. I barely want to watch this game other than like the comical aspect because I assume at least one player is going to slip on a banana peel at some point. The under seems like the safest bet once again. We're predicting a lot of bad football games this week, especially Andrew
the good
and
ones are
myself,
coming.
But so far, a lot of unders. This is another one. No way they're getting 37.5.
Andrew, what do you think?
I mean, so what happens to whoever loses, right? They get pushed out of college football and Alabama gets to take their starting spot next year.
That's how it should be.
This is crazy. First off, Zach Wilson, concussion last week, more than likely won't play. Trevor Siemian, I have no faith in this guy. Give me the Washington Commanders. Give me Sam Howell. And give me my second lock of the week because I am taking the Commanders.
Wow, that's a lock of the week.
Here's the best part. If Sam Howell gets pulled, Jacoby Brissett proved to us last week he can feed F1 Terry McLaurin. I'm taking him. I'm taking the Commanders this week, guys.
I love it. A big lock of the week on honestly what's gonna, now that we've made fun of it, gonna be a fun game, an awesome game. And we're all gonna enjoy watching it. Moving on to the Jacksonville Jaguars going into Tampa Bay to face Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. The Jags are currently in first place in the AFC South division. The Bucs, guess what? Currently in first place in the NFC South division. This is a battle for king of the South. Baker Mayfield's coming off of a career game with 381 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a perfect passer rating in Lambeau. The Jags are coming off of playing the 2 best defenses in the league, arguably, with the Browns and the Ravens. I think they still struggle without their number 1 receiver, Christian Kirk. Baker Mayfield is 6-2 in his last 8 games against the spread this season. Shout out to him. We've made a lot of money off of him. The Bucs are getting 1 point at home. The Jags are 12th best at stopping the run in the NFL. But their last 3 games, they have given up an average of 167 yards per game. Second worst in the NFL in the last 3 weeks. So I have no choice. I didn't want to over gamble on Baker Mayfield. I wanted to take my winnings, sell, go home with my massive profits, just like I did with Bitcoin earlier in my life. But I can't. I just got to buy back in on the Baker Mayfield Buccaneers and take them at their money line, which is even at -110. Give me the Bucks. Give me Baker Mayfield. I cannot quit betting on this guy. I'm sorry about it. Miles, what do you think?
Why would you jump off the Baker bandwagon when it has just been rolling through every city it goes through? I'm, again, 100% with you. Baker Mayfield, why would you not throw your $2 on that guy? Especially, you didn't mention Jacksonville has a lot of banged-up players. We know that Trevor Lawrence is coming off of that ankle from a couple weeks ago. I don't know if he's really 100% as much as they just don't have a second option. ETN has literally had bruised ribs since he started this season. Obviously, when he's your workhorse, that's not going to heal up anytime soon. And I think it showed a little bit in this last week's game, more so than it had previously. And I think that could be a trend to watch out for. So I don't really have a strong recommendation on this one, but if I'm betting money on this one, my money's going on Baker Mayfield.
Yep. Mr. Andrew?
You know where I'm going with this. I'm going to go Baker, the touchdown maker.
Have to.
Look, he is on fire right now. This is a guy who is just like at the blackjack table. I'm riding him. I'm riding this motherfucker.
Yep. Have to.
Jacksonville, once again, Trevor Lawrence, concussion. He's in concussion protocol. I feel like a broken record. The Jaguars just don't look good. And he has looked so sloppy ever since they had the high ankle sprain. Doing fumbles, botched plays at right before half, time management. Give me Baker. Give me Mike Evans. Give me Rashid White. This is, Buccaneers, baby.
Brilliant. We just have to keep, if someone's got a hot hand, you got to keep riding them. Said it before, I'll say it again. Moving on to the next game, the Dallas Cowboys are taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Cowboys got embarrassed by the Bills last week on the road. They got bullied. That's the only way you can say what happened, describe what happened. The Dolphins are swimming high after shutting out the Jets 30-0, I believe. The Cowboys have clinched a playoff berth. The Dolphins have the best odds to make the playoffs for a team who hasn't clinched yet. And they are playing for the 1 seed and the first round bye that comes with it. Tyreek Hill wasn't able to start for the Finns, and they didn't really need him in that game. This is a matchup against two elite passing offenses. Their defenses both give up 6.7 yards per attempt through the air, so they're virtually evenly matched in that aspect. But the Cowboys' offense is very different on the road, and I expect them to have some real issues in a loud Hard Knock stadium. I think it's going to be bumping there. So give me the Miami Dolphins with -1.5 points. James, NFL Insider, also wrote in Dolphins money line. So there you go. Mr. Miles, what do you think on this one?
I'm also with the Dolphins on this one, but I do disagree with you on Dak struggling. I think that this is just going to be a good old-fashioned shootout. 51's a lot of points, so I'm hesitant to actually recommend that over, though I am leaning that way. But I think this is going to be a little bit of a bounce back for the Cowboys offense just to show that they can, in fact, function on the road. Miami's climate a lot more close to Dallas's than Buffalo is, for sure. They're not going to have to deal with the cold, rainy weather. There will be no poncho watch in Miami this weekend. So for that reason, I am with you on Miami. I like them winning by a field goal or so, but I think that there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. This one should be fun to watch.
I agree. I'm excited to watch this one. Andrew, what do you think?
I actually like the Cowboys this week. Now, we all know the Dallas Cowboys, one of their main weaknesses, besides playing on the road, is stopping the run. I mean, San Francisco ran it down their throat, Arizona ran it down their throat, and so did Buffalo Bills. Now, Miami is a very good running game. However, they like to poke at the edges, not really attack right in the middle where the Cowboys are soft. So I like them to kind of control this game. Micah Parsons kind of puts a little pressure on Tua. You can't forget that this Dolphins offensive line is still missing 3 starters. So that's going to mean something against a angry, pissed off Cowboys defense. I like Dak to bounce back. The secondary from the Dolphins tend to be a little bit more aggressive with Jalen Ramsey. It's a good get-right game for Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb. So I'll take the points, and I'll take the Cowboys.
Okay, fair enough. So that's a little bit of crossfire between Miles and I against Andrew. So let's keep a close eye on this one during the 3 o'clock time slate here on Sunday. Moving on to the next game, which is also happening at 3 o'clock. The Cardinals are taking on the Bears. The Cardinals are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. The Bears are technically still alive with a 5-9 record. The Bears have looked good, though, since they traded for Sweat, which, I mean, we admitted that would make them a better team at the time. I don't know if that's really what their focus should be at the time, but that's what they did. Kyler, only win this season was against Mitch Trubisky and the Pittsburgh Steelers. They don't cover last week against the Niners. I think the Cardinals threw everything they had at the 49ers last week, and they couldn't even keep it close in that game. I think we are firing up the Xbox. We're opening up our Doritos in Arizona, and Justin Fields and the Bears are playing for their jobs this weekend in front of America, being one of only 3 games in 3 p.m. time slot next week. Give me the Bears. Give them at -4. I think this is an absolute blowout, have-to-have-it game for the Bears, and I think this is let's go play some video games, play some Call of Duty, and chill out for next season for the Cardinals. What do you think, Miles?
Unfortunately, I again agree with you. The Cardinals, as a person that wants to see them do better, I was excited when they beat the Cowboys. It felt like maybe there was something cooking there, and it wasn't just a fluke for like a minute in Arizona. But Arizona is going to Arizona. Cardinals are going to Cardinal. They really have nothing left to fire up their spirit. Why would they? Even with, I've mentioned the new Call of Duty game is trash. I think the trash Call of Duty is less trash than this football organization. And the Chicago Bears have been, once again, a team similar, not the same, but similar to the Broncos, where at one point I think we had completely written them off, just like, they're just going to be trash this season. And they keep winning football games. And when they're not winning football games, they're competitive in those football games.
Against good teams.
Against good teams. This is not one. I think Chicago is going to go and show that, hey, we're still technically here. And God damn it, they sure are.
God damn it. Yeah.
I forgot this wasn't a clean show for a second.
It sort of is. Whatever. You can. I mix in between. Andrew, what do you think?
Bears all day. Also, this game sneaky has an over appeal to me. I really see the Bears putting about 34 on the board, leaving the Cardinals some wiggle room. I really like the Bears this week.
All right.
Kyler's gonna Kyler. They're gonna, and Justin Fields is gonna Justin Fields. So you're gonna have probably a defensive touchdown. You're gonna have some crazy Trey McBride probably catching a run touchdown, and James Conner is gonna fall in the end zone at least once. So it's sneaky. It's a sneaky overpick, but I do love the Bears this week. Also, fantasy football, that is my defense of the week. So if you're looking for a defensive stream, pick up the Bears. They have scored 14 fantasy points the last 3 weeks, and this one's going to be tasty.
Oh, I love where your head's at there, Andrew. A little bit of fantasy football sprinkled in to your usual program. And going down to Sunday night, and boy, what a Sunday night game we are gonna be watching, and we're gonna like it. We're gonna say thank you, Roger. Can I have some more? The Pats have been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs since last week. The Broncos are still alive despite losing last week. The Broncos will be highly motivated, and they are healthy, and the Pats are pathetic despite Bailey Zappi being pretty good. And that's why this line is at 6.5 for the Broncos at home. I'm going to have a pretty strong lean to the Broncos. Again, I've gambled on way too many games or recommended too many games so far this slate. So I am going to lay off of this one officially, but I lean the Broncos -6.5. Miles, where do you go?
I am going to go with my second no-brainer of the week. This is the Denver Broncos. I just talked about them in our last prediction as a team that we had written off early that has just been showing signs of absolute life. They've got a lot to work for. The Patriots have just been absolute trash. Zappi's been a slight upgrade since they've put him in, but realistically, they're just not competitive. They have nothing to play for. I think that Denver in a home field advantage is just going to absolutely wall up the Patriots. I would also lean heavily towards the over 34 points just because that's not a lot of points for two teams to cover collectively. I think that's a very, very good possibility that we'll see closer in like that 40, 45 range of points.
Okay. Andrew, what do you think?
I'm putting my foot down. I'm not touching this game. I'm not gambling on anything that has a Bailey Zappi involved, a Bill Belichick without Tom Brady involved. Like, I'm done. I'm at the point of the season where I put my foot down. I'm not touching this shit. No more.
That is fair. And that was kind of my attitude on the game as well, Andrew, so I cannot blame you. Moving on to our triple header Christmas Day Monday football NFL extravaganza. And I am going to put together the perfect teaser for this game, guaranteed to hit 3-game teaser, starting with the Las Vegas Raiders going into Kansas City to play the Chiefs. We have 3 games on Christmas to watch, so we're going to start with this one for my teaser. The first game is the Raiders and the Chiefs, which we will have a watch party on the channel with me and Miles, I believe.
Christmas
the Raiders.
Day.
Yeah, the hang out with us on Christmas Day. The Raiders are resting, coming off of the ass whooping they handed out to the Chargers last week. They were coming off of a 3-game losing streak, including a loss to the Chiefs, 31-17. The Raiders kind of need to win out to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Chiefs have not clinched a playoff berth yet, sitting in first place in the AFC West at 9-5. I have no choice but to take the Raiders and tease them from 10 points all the way up to 16 points in a divisional matchup. I think they're going to keep it close. I think they're motivated to do so, even though they got blown out in Vegas just 2 or 3 weeks ago. Give me the Raiders plus 16 for my first leg of my triple teaser on Christmas Day. Santa's going to be giving you some extra presents on Sunday night, Monday night. Either way. Miles, what do you think?
I actually really like the Raiders money line on this one. It's a gamble stretch, but I think they've made that just tempting enough that if you're right about the Raiders, and I hope you are, they're going to be much more highly motivated. And also, excuse me, I also think that the Chiefs, you mentioned that the Eagles are frauds. I think the Chiefs have proven themselves to be more fraudulent than the Eagles have this season. They do not have a lot of parts working together. Patrick Mahomes can't pass it to himself, and none of his receivers can catch the ball. So while I think it's definitely a stretch, definitely a gamble, if you want to, maybe win a little extra cash with that money line, put a few bucks on it and see what happens.
See what happens. I agree. See what happens. It's Christmas. Miracles have happened before. Andrew, what do you think?
Well, I got something for you guys. In the spirit of Christmas, in the spirit of America's favorite artiste, I am taking the Chiefs, baby, because our boy Travis Kelce does not disappoint when it comes to playing the Raiders in late December. Look at the stats. The Chiefs have covered the last 5 years against the Raiders in late December. It's a crazy thing. And now Taylor Swift's involved. For a cat, give me the Chiefs, baby, all day.
So we got crossfire there. Andrew's taking the Chiefs with a cat bet. That is, I am, honestly a little bit nervous to bet against it, but, maybe we'll thread that needle with the 6-point teaser. Moving on to the second game in my 3-game teaser. Christmas presents on the way from me to you with this free money I'm giving you. Guaranteed to hit. The Giants at the Eagles. The Giants and Tommy DeVito got exposed last week to the Saints, unfortunately, who are still in the playoff hunt. They're 7-7 after that win. Did we overreact 2 wins against the Packers with the Giants? And maybe we did. The Pats stink, and the Packers are having a real slump right now. The Giants stink, and the Packers are having a real slump right now. The Eagles are potentially potentially got exposed by the Bills, who needed a win really, really bad. The Eagles have clinched the playoffs. I think their motivation will be at an all-time high after getting bullied by the Bills. The Giants couldn't bully much at all. Give me the Eagles teased down to 7.5 for this one. Miles, what do you think?
The New York Giants are possibly the worst team in football. They have been really, really bad this season. I say that about like 3 teams consistently. The Philadelphia Eagles, I don't think are frauds. I think they had a lot going against them this last week, including an illness by their quarterback, including a just gauntlet of games that they had to go through. I think they're a little bit embarrassed by that loss. They're probably they're probably more than a little bit upset by that loss. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to use this opportunity. They're looking ahead at this calendar. They're seeing it's Christmas. They're going to have their guys say, "Hey, we're still the team to beat on this side of the country." And I think that's going to be a big, big game for the Eagles, just absolutely pounding the Giants.
And by God, that's NFL insider James's music.
Hey,
James,
hey everybody!
Buddy?
Did the script come in late today?
I had to go to the FedEx office, and they had sent it to the wrong place. Had to hop on the PJ, go to New York, go to the league office. It was a pain. But I'm here.
Well, thank you, buddy. We were just covering the Saturday slate. I'm glad that you joined us because I am recommending a 3-game guaranteed to hit Christmas gift from me to you, free money, triple teaser parlay. And I started out by taking what did I start out with? I started out by taking the Raiders up to 16 points against the Chiefs. What are your thoughts on this game, the Raiders at Kansas City late in the season?
I agree. This Chiefs team has been unimpressive. If Kadarius Toney is playing, that's probably worth 7 points for the opposite team. So probably a good side to lean on there. I like that. I like that teaser.
Brilliant. And so we already heard from Miles, correct, Miles?
You
on
did,
this one.
yes.
And then Mr. Andrew, what are your thoughts on this one?
Oh, Tommy DeVito, the passing Paisano, Christmas Day. Are we having a miracle on 34th Street? I don't think so. He's going to be swimming in the fishes by the end of the night. Give me the Eagles. They're going to crush the Giants. It's going to look like a massacre. So,
yep, I agree. And then Mr. James, what are your thoughts on this one, the Giants and the Eagles? I recommended teasing the Eagles down to 7.5. I don't think they're frauds. I don't think the Giants are gonna, beat them up as hard as the Eagles got beat up last week. I'm obsessed with taking the Eagles down to 7.5 here against Tommy DeVito. I think we might have overreacted last week. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. The Eagles look pretty good. That was a interception that may have not been an interception the other night.
Yeah.
I may or may not have had a Seahawks money line and was very, very happy about that. You're all very lucky that I had to fly to New York and I'm in my business attire, else I would have been in the highlighter yellow Seahawks jersey for this podcast. I agree. I think the Eagles are a fantastic football team. I think people are going to have a lot of bad things to say about them. I just think the Seahawks matched up pretty well with them, and this team is good. Jalen Hurts is going through a flu. Had to fly separately from the team to ensure nobody else got sick. I think this is a fantastic team. I think they're still in the hunt for the Super Bowl, and I would more than happy to take them in the team against the Giants.
Brilliant. And I think we just heard from Andrew on this one. Miles, did you give us your thoughts on the Giants and the Eagles?
I did. Eagles all the way. Comeback game to show off that they are still the team to beat.
Brilliant. And then moving on to the last game of the slate. It's Christmas night. It's Monday. It's Monday Night Football. And we are going to watch the Ravens take on the 49ers. This is a potential Super Bowl preview, you guys. This is 1 seed in the AFC versus 1 seed in the NFC. They both have their playoff berth clinched. And what, just what a present that Roger Goodell has given us here on Sunday night. The Ravens have not missed a beat since losing Mark Andrews, but they did just lose their superstar rookie Keaton Mitchell with an ACL. I think Gus Edwards should fill in very nicely for the Ravens here, especially if you have them in fantasy football. That'd be my start of the week for you for fantasy football side of things. Both teams have averaged a combined total or combined offensive points scored 64.8 points per game in their last 6 games. So if you add up both teams scoring on their games in the last 6 weeks, divide it by 6, you get 64.8, right? I mean, granted, the Ravens and 49ers defense is a little bit well above average, but the over-under this game is currently at 46.5. So I will tease that down to 41.5 for a perfectly weather forecasted game for points, by the way. I do know that James has a recommendation on this game, so I'll leave that one to him. James, we have been filling the audience in with your picks as we have gone along. But for my guaranteed to hit Christmas present, free money from me to you, triple teaser parlay on Christmas Day, I have the over 41.5 in the Ravens-Niners game, the Eagles at -7.5, and the Raiders at +16 points. James, what are your thoughts on this game?
The Christmas wind is a Raider, huh? We're going with no longer autumn. I am disappointed that this is no longer the Harbaugh Bowl. Shout out to John for leaving and stealing signs in the collegiate games. I think that this is going to be a fantastic game. I had to fly out to New York to find out what was going to happen in this game. But I got the word. Brock Purdy is going to look not too pretty. He's going to look bad. Lamar Jackson is going to pull away in the MVP race and absolutely dominate this Niners team. I've got the Ravens money line +190. I've got them winning this big time. The script has let me know that Brock Purdy is no longer an MVP candidate. It is Lamar Jackson all the way. And you can go ahead and bank this because guess what? +190. That means you can double your presents. Don't buy your kids presents yet. Bet all your present money on this game. Double it up and get them 1.9 more presents for Christmas.
Wow. So there's a lot that we have to uncover with that script writer. So that's both a Lamar Jackson, who I have to assume is like the 4th or 5th odds-on favorite to win the MVP. He's won it before.
I've seen him as high as second odds. I've seen him as high as second odds.
Have you? Okay, I haven't checked in the past couple of weeks, so I guess that makes sense. But I would have thought he would be behind Chris McCaffrey at this point of the season. So a big win for his MVP hunt and a big win for the Ravens here on the road against the Niners. Andrew, what do you think on this one?
Like I said earlier, we're on a little group chat. I love the Ravens. I'm all in on the Ravens this week. This is the perfect defense for Lamar Jackson to exploit. They have a weak secondary. It's pretty soft. And a pass rush that loves to over rush the angles. Lamar is going to eat them up this game. If you have any of those props, Lamar over 60 yards, I think he's going to break at least 85 rushing yards. So any prop up to there, let's just take it. Let's eat it. Lamar's going to eat this week. So I like it. I like it a lot.
Hell yeah. Taking the Ravens as well. Miles, what are you taking?
I'm not nearly as confident as either of these two have been about this game, to be completely honest. But something that I've personally learned, maybe a Christmas gift to me this year, is from somebody on this podcast. If you are in a coin flip situation and you get positive money back, you take that positive money. So Baltimore money line to me seems, I don't see either of these teams being the clear winner. I think that the spread somewhat reflects that. I like the Baltimore upset and get paid for it. I'll get 2 Christmas presents instead of 1 this year.
Brilliantly done. And that's math, baby. And that's what you're going to get on this podcast. This has been What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes, the Week 16 preview show. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment. If you agree or disagree with any things that we said, we will probably reply to you or bring you up on the next episode. Mr. James, thanks for tuning in at the very, very end, buddy. It's good to see you. You're not a public figure, but you are a for shoot NFL insider, and we appreciate your script reveals on the show each and every week. Not very many of these left to do, so let's enjoy it while we still can, buddy. Thanks for being on.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. For those of you who missed me, I apologize. Rams -4, Browns +125, Dolphins -120, Lions -3. There you go. You can just skip straight to this part if you want to make fun. Just kidding. I appreciate it. I love this podcast. I love spending time with you guys. This is a fantastic tradition. I'm glad that I got to be part of it, even if it's just.
Hell yeah, we appreciate you, buddy. Mr. Andrew, back from his trip from Mexico a couple of weeks ago, putting out those locks. You've got a gimmick now with an actual lock. So that feels like that's going to really help your betting going forward. Yeah, James, you missed that. It was pretty awesome. We had a couple locks of the week so far this week. Thank you for being on, buddy. Also not a public figure. What do you have to tell the audience?
Hey, glad to be here. It's my favorite thing to do every week. Merry Christmas to everyone, and let's make some money.
Merry Christmas. Let's make some money. At Mr. Most Days Off, we've already plugged our show on Thursday. If you're in the Arlington area, look us up on social media. You'll get some tickets for that show. It's going to be an excellent time. Thank you for being on, as always, at Mr. Most Days Off on most platforms. What do you have to tell the audience?
Well, first of all, I just got a little sad when football season ends. What are we going to bet on, guys? You want to do like badminton or curling, or what are we into in the off season? What are we going to throw down on? Let's keep making money together.
We are going to start studying for next year because it's best ball season, baby. It's dynasty season and it's best ball season. So if you want to be on that road with us as well, you're definitely welcome to. We kind of called out a couple of big wins. Not everybody's perfect. We had a couple major misses. Travis Etienne being one of those, being a bus candidate. That was dumb. But we also had Puka Nacua that we mentioned in the podcast several times. So stay tuned for fantasy football content in the off season. Great question, Mr. Miles.
Hell yeah. Other than that, just follow me online everywhere at Mr. Most Days Off. Come see a comedy show. And have a very Merry Christmas or whatever other holidays you celebrate.
Damn right. Merry Christmas, guys. Thank you, and good night.